All right, what is good, boys and girls? Welcome to today's trade recap. Today is Monday, April 13th, 2026. I took one trade today. It was a dub. However, I only took them on my top step account. So here are my executions. So I show proof across my 5 top step XFAs. So pretty good day today. Smaller day than usual, but hey, whatever, I'll take it, right? So coming into this morning, off rip, I'm on the daily time frame, right? What am I noticing? Well, I'm noticing that we left last week daily. They're relatively equal highs, but I'm counting these as equal. They're only about a point off, and they're on the daily time frame. Pretty strong draw on liquidity, right? Along with that, I'm noticing that we're rejecting this daily for value gap right here. Coming to the 4-hour, okay, what do we got on the 4-hour? Well, just swept out these 4-hour intermediate lows along with all these, all this sell side. Same thing on the hourly right here. Okay, so again, I'm dropping down to the 15-minute because the 1-hour, the daily, and the 4-hour tell me that we're all pretty bullish on the day. What am I seeing on the daily? Now I got on around like this candle right here when it was still fluctuating. Okay, I noticed that we have this new week opening gap to the left of us that we're probably going to fill completely, especially because we have these higher time frame equal highs above, and then we have this like 15-minute intermediate high right here resting. But yeah, mostly my target was this data wick, fill this NWOG completely, and then if we are super bullish and I have yet to catch a trade pre-market, I'm going to be targeting these equal highs on the buy side up here. So with that being said, the trade I took ended up stimulating from a lower time frame AMD model, and the reason I like this is because we came down and we took out London lows and we created this immediate V-shaped recovery. We inversed this 50-minute BPR to the left of us right here. We inversed all the 30-minute gaps along with this 30-minute BPR. We had this data high above, and along with that, I know we're probably going to fill this new week opening gap completely. All right, so what ends up happening? Well, ideally, I'd want to see accumulation, manipulation, possibly down towards this 15-minute for value gap right here, which is going to be near equilibrium at this point in time. But if we can get a 5-minute, that will work as well, just because I know this is a super strong draw on liquidity and how bullish we already are. Now, this 15-minute gap right here had yet to form. Obviously, this 15-minute candle was still fluctuating, so I was more so focused on this line right here. And what I wanted to see was, again, accumulation, manipulation, distribution. However, we ended up getting accumulation, manipulation into what? Oh, into this 5-minute fair value gap where we slept out 5-minute intermediate lows. So we took out these, well, I guess it wasn't. I guess it never tapped in the gap. Whatever. We took out these 5-minute lows inside this 5-minute gap right here. And then we immediately got a V-shaped recovery. And when I seen this V-shape with these data highs above, and data highs, I guess, it was from a Trump tweet. I guess it wasn't real news. But price likes to draw to these wicks pretty fucking frequently, and I've seen this pre-market trade play out a million times. So I went ahead and entered a few contracts at the closure of this 912 candle, the opening of the 913. I went in with 5, and then I ended up going in for 2 more once I seen this displace lower. So the reason why I entered more when I seen this displace lower was because we didn't leave a top wick to either of these 2 candles right here, and we left a volume imbalance. Along with that, our break-even point was going to be these equal highs right here. So I was pretty confident that we are at least going to go back up to the break-even point, so I ended up entering 2 more about right here, put my average entry to about 25,174, and my stops were just beneath this candle because I knew if the trade was going to play out, especially believing these equal highs, we're probably not going to come and revisit all the way down here. We ended up respecting the last 30-minute gap, or 30-second for value gap down here. I don't have the 30-second on TradingView, but we ended up respecting it, and then we ended up coming up and doing what? Okay, and now break even, and then the trade ended up playing out. Now, okay, that was a trade I took. Going into today's price action, what ends up happening? Right out market open, we got manipulation higher, and then what did we end up leaving down here? Well, we left this 15-minute for value gap. Okay, we left this 15-minute for value gap because we only tapped into the 5-minute. Okay, so now we have 2 unfilled gaps beneath us. We also have an unfilled 30-minute at the same spot as the first 15. Okay. We had these 5-minute intermediate lows down here. So I'm like, okay, if we can get some form of like sweep of liquidity of this data high and then a rejection lower, I don't mind shorting towards these gaps. But if we don't get an entry and we just shit the bed into these gaps, I don't mind longing because overall I'm already bullish towards these equal highs above and this 15-minute intermediate high right here, along with filling the new week opening gap completely. So what ends up happening? Well, the next candle, what do we get? Extremely bearish. However, we're still respecting both of these 5-minute gaps right here. So I'm not going to short until these gaps get ran through. Now, there might have been like a 1-minute up here. I didn't necessarily like this 1-minute because we were inside of this 2-minute. So if you wanted to take this Judas swing off open, you probably should have waited for this 2-minute to close. And yeah, obviously the 2-minute ended up closing all the way down here. And at that point, we're already inside of the 5-minute. So that was invalid. We come to the 5-minute. Okay, let's see what's happening. Still respecting this 5-minute bullish gap, right? We have yet to close beneath this. Now this looks pretty good, right? Possibly. If we can get the 5-minute closure as well, and then all of a sudden, what ends up happening? We get this Drake candle. Okay, and with this Drake candle, I actually missed this. I would have took this on my evals because, like I said, I didn't get to execute on TradingView earlier. I would have took this on my evals. Accumulation, manipulation, distribution. I was waiting for a tap in this 15-minute and 30-minute gap right here, and then this second 15-minute. Now, I wasn't necessarily worried about the second 15-minute. As long as we can get a tap into this 30-minute, I would be completely fine with that. But we ended up getting extreme displacement, and the thing I missed most was we had an SMT at this low right here, and we were still holding that 5-minute fair value gap. So we actually never closed beneath this 5-minute. Okay, we created an SMT. If you come over to ES, clearly ES did not take that out. And then we ended up getting the strong displacement. And also what I really liked about this trade is how we left a good break-even point with these equal highs on the 1 minute. So our entry point would have been like right here. Stops pretty tight stop loss because with candles like this, we're probably just going to run towards the draw. And then in scenarios like this, just either aim for a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. I probably wouldn't necessarily aim all the way up here because we could end up just coming out and taking out this 930 wick and then continuing lower towards like these relatively equal lows down here and stuff like that. So probably just aim for a 1-to-1, but overall my narrative on the day was towards these equal highs. Doesn't necessarily mean I have to hold towards those highs. I can hold runners and at least take partials out of 1-to-1 or this buy, this buy side right here. So what ends up happening, we ended up just bull running. And then if you missed that entry, we had one more like 1 minute continuation. But this 1 minute was pretty valid because again, we had the SMT at these lows down here. And what do we end up doing? We ended up coming up and hitting equilibrium literally perfectly. And then getting the 1 minute inversion with displacement. Here's your re-entry. This is more of like, okay, like a 50-50 play, but in this sense, since we're so bullish, it is pretty probable. Let's go ahead and see how this plays out. Break-even point at this internal high or TP1, and then you can hold runners towards all the way up here. And as you can see, we ended up edging it and then coming down and retracing it, and then price action was pretty shit after that. So that was really all for today. And yeah, I think this right here is actually trade of the day, not the trade I took. However, I would have liked it a little bit better if we came down those extra, maybe 3.5 points and at least tap this 30-minute. And if we got this rejected out of the 30-minute, I would have had no hesitation entering this at all. So yeah, that was my thought process about today. If you guys have any questions, concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comments. And if you guys want to up your allocation, use code LoeGpa on Lucid Trades. Check that out as well. All the links are in the description if you guys need it. With that being said, I will catch y'all boys tomorrow.